Welcome to the deep dive. Look, you're here because you want to get straight to the good stuff, right? Grab that key knowledge, get those aha moments, but without, getting totally bogged down.
Exactly. No fluff, just the core insights.
So today we're diving straight into Sean Akers' The Happiness Advantage. We're giving you the shortcut to understanding what really makes this book tick.
And right off the bat, the big thing Aker challenges that old idea,
Yeah,
that success is what makes you happy.
right. He flips it completely.
Yeah. He argues and backs it up with research, which we'll get into. That's actually the other way around.
That's the absolute core of it. Happiness isn't the prize you get after you succeed. It's the engine. It's what drives the success.
That's a fundamental shift. We're so often taught to chase the success first, thinking happiness will follow.
Totally conditioned that way.
But Aker's work is compelling because it's evidence-based.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't just wishful thinking.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to unpack how cultivating happiness can actually tangibly improve performance.
Mm-hmm.
Your career, productivity, relationships, all of it.
Okay, so let's nail down the central concept. The happiness advantage. It's more than just a name.
It really describes a brain state, doesn't it?
Yeah, when your brain is positive, you get these real advantages. You perform better, think more creatively.
And you bounce back faster from setbacks, you see things more constructively.
And there's actual biology behind this, right? It's not just psychological fluff.
No, definitely not.
Mm.
There's a biochemical basis. When we feel happy, our brain releases things like dopamine and serotonin.
Okay, most people know those make you feel good.
Right, but they do more than that. They actually sharpen our cognitive functions.
How so? Like, what does that mean day to day?
It means you can process things faster, you're more accurate, you handle stress better,
Uh-huh.
and, like we said, you recover quicker when things go wrong. It's like a natural performance enhancer.
And the really cool part is this isn't something you're just born with, right?
Exactly. That's the most empowering piece. Aker argues strongly that it's a skill.
A skill you can develop.
Yeah, something you can practice
Yeah.
and then use strategically every day to achieve more. We'll definitely touch on some practical ways to do that.
And it helps to know where he's coming from. Aker isn't just some guy with an opinion.
No, he was a lecturer at Harvard, deep into positive psychology research.
So this stuff is grounded in actual academic work.
For sure. And the book pulls from different fields, too,
Mm.
not just psychology.
Neuroscience, too, like brain stuff.
Yeah, neuroscience, looking at how the brain responds. And organizational behavior, seeing how this plays out in workplaces.
Mm.
He's worked with huge companies, Fortune 500s, schools, government. So he's seen it in action.
Okay, so let's really get into that core principle then, the happiness advantage itself. Flaying that success leads to happiness idea.
Right. And the key is how being positive actually boosts our abilities.
Okay.
When you're in that positive state, your brain just works better. You're more resilient, better at solving problems.
And it creates a kind of positive feedback loop.
Exactly. You're happier, so you have more success, which then makes you happier still. It builds on itself.
This upward spiral.
Yeah. And think about those chemicals again, dopamine, serotonin. They actually improve memory, attention span, creativity.
He has that example with the doctors, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. Doctors put in a positive mood.
Mm-hmm.
They made diagnoses faster and more accurately than the others.
Wow. So it's not just about feeling cheerful, it's about actual capability.
Absolutely. It directly impacts performance. And the research numbers he quotes are pretty striking.
Like what?
Like happier employees being around 31% more productive.
31%. That's huge.
And then sales figures,
Mm.
often 37% higher. Plus, they're seen as more creative, better leaders, more resilient.
And they get better feedback, too.
Yeah, more positive reviews from colleagues and bosses.
And this isn't just about work, is it? It spills over.
Definitely. Big impact on physical health, too. Better immune function, faster recovery from illness,
Yeah.
even potentially living longer.
Okay. So the big question then is how? How do we actually cultivate this?
Right. And he gives very practical, actionable things, stuff you can start doing right away.
Like the gratitude journal thing.
Exactly. Sounds simple, maybe, but taking a few minutes each day to write down what you're grateful for, it really shifts your outlook.
Makes you more optimistic.
Yeah, improves relationships, boosts overall happiness, but you have to actually feel the gratitude, not just list things.
Got it. And the 3 good things. Similar idea.
Yeah, at the end of the day, just reflecting on 3 positive things that happened, big or small.
It trains your brain to notice the good, doesn't it? Fights that negativity bias we all have.
Precisely. Then there's activation energy.
Activation energy, what's that?
It's about making good habits easier and bad habits harder. Setting up your environment for success.
Ah, okay. Like putting your running shoes by the door.
Exactly. Or maybe keeping the TV remote somewhere inconvenient if you want to watch less TV. Small tweaks, big
He makes
impact.
sense.
And, crucially, social support. This is huge.
Having good people around you.
Yeah. Strong social connections are an incredibly powerful predictor of long-term well-being. Maybe even more than money or career success.
Really? More than money.
That's what the research suggests. They act as a buffer against stress, help you recover from setbacks.
Knowing you've got backup.
And this applies in companies, too. Think about places like Google with all their perks.
They focus on employee happiness.
Right. And those companies tend to have lower turnover, higher engagement, better performance. It's smart business.
And schools, too.
Yeah, schools that focus on student well-being, gratitude programs, resilience training often see better academic results, fewer behavior problems.
So it all comes back to this idea, happiness isn't passive.
It's a choice and a skill you can build. And by building it, you set yourself up for more success.
Okay, let's talk about mindset then. He uses this metaphor, the fulcrum and lever.
Yeah, it's a really neat analogy. The idea is that your mindset is the pivot point. And by adjusting your mindset, you get more leverage, more power to deal with challenges and achieve things. It's about how you frame your world.
So it's deeper than just think positive.
Oh, yeah. It's about fundamentally changing your perspective to see possibilities instead of just limitations.
And this connects to Carol Dweck's work on mindset, fixed versus growth.
Exactly. A growth mindset, believing your abilities can be developed, is key to using that fulcrum effectively. A fixed mindset limits your leverage.
Okay. And then he talks about the Tetris effect. That's interesting.
It is. It describes how our brains get stuck in patterns based on what we focus on.
Like playing too much Tetris and seeing blocks everywhere.
Pretty much. But if you constantly focus on the negative problems, complaints, your brain gets trained to scan for negativity all the time.
You start seeing problems even when they aren't really there.
Right. It becomes a filter. But the good news is you can create a positive Tetris effect by consciously practicing positivity. Gratitude, focusing on successes, thinking optimistically. You retrain your brain to scan for the good stuff.
So those gratitude journals and 3 good things exercises, they're actually helping create this positive Tetris effect.
Exactly. They're tools to rewire your focus, counter that negativity bias.
And in a work context, focusing on success patterns, that helps too.
Absolutely. Boost job satisfaction, relationships, engagement. Leaders who foster this, acknowledging wins, celebrating progress, build team confidence and collaboration.
So it's about intentionally setting your mental fulcrum to empower yourself, like seeing a tough project as a chance to learn, not just a burden.
Precisely that. That small shift changes everything. You approach it differently with more energy.
And Anchor says we can create a self-fulfilling prophecy this way, by controlling our internal story.
Yeah, our beliefs shape our actions, and our actions shape our results. Believing in possibility makes success more likely.
It's like we're co-creating our reality through our perspective.
In a very real sense, yes. Adjusting that fulcrum, tuning into positive patterns, it gives you so much more power.
Okay, so happiness fuels success. Mindset gives us leverage. But what about when things inevitably go wrong? Setbacks happen.
Right, and that's where his principle of falling up comes in.
Falling up.
Yeah, it's about how we respond to failure. Seeing it not as the end, but as part of the path forward.
So reframing failure as a learning opportunity.
Exactly. It's not just unavoidable. It can actually be a catalyst for growth, if we choose to see it that way.
This builds resilience, right? That ability to bounce back.
Definitely. Understanding failure is part of learning, makes you better at handling stress, adapting, and ultimately thriving despite adversity. Falling up means coming back stronger.
He shares stories about this, right? Athletes, entrepreneurs.
Yeah, people who hit major roadblocks but use them to learn, adjust, and eventually succeed even more. Setbacks become data points.
And he mentions cognitive reappraisal, changing how we interpret things.
Yes, that's a key technique.
Yeah.
Actively changing your interpretation of a negative event to find a more constructive angle.
Like losing a job, instead of seeing it purely as failure.
You could reframe it. Maybe it's a chance to explore a new field, learn new skills, reassess what you really want.
Finding the potential upside, even in difficulty.
It lessens the negative hit and builds confidence for future challenges.
And then there's post-traumatic growth. That sounds intense.
It can be. But it's the idea that really significant challenges can lead to positive transformations.
Not just getting back to normal, but actually growing because of the hardship.
Exactly. People report greater strength, deeper relationships, a stronger sense of purpose after navigating tough times.
So focusing on that potential for growth helps us see challenges differently.
Yes, as catalysts, not just threats. He also suggests mapping out alternative roads.
Like a mental plan B, C, and D.
Sort of. So if one path gets blocked by failure, you're not stuck. You have other ways forward. Increases flexibility.
Makes failure feel less final.
Much less. It's just a detour. And celebrating small wins is part of this too, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Acknowledging small steps forward builds momentum.
Especially when the big goal feels far off. Those little victories keep you going, reinforce that you can make progress.
Breaking big challenges down helps with that, creates milestones.
And builds that belief in your ability to overcome things. It's a positive cycle.
And social support comes back in here too, for resilience.
Hugely important. Having people to lean on provides an emotional buffer, makes setbacks less devastating.
So nurturing those connections is actually a resilience strategy.
Definitely. And he suggests that adversity inventory idea.
Looking back at past challenges.
Yeah, and reflecting on what you learned, how you got through them. It reminds you of your own strength.
Builds confidence based on your own history.
Exactly. And this isn't just individual. Companies with resilient cultures do better, less turnover, more engagement.
Okay, so we have the principles.
Yeah.
How do we make this stuff real? Integrate it day to day. Let's talk practical application and social connection.
Right, because happiness isn't just theory. It's a tool. Acre gives concrete exercises to weave this into your life.
Making it a practice, not just an idea. And those gratitude and 3 good things exercises are key here.
They really are. Consistently focusing on the positive, however small, makes a huge difference to your baseline happiness and your ability to handle bumps in the road. It's brain training.
And acts of kindness, doing things for others.
Yeah, that's powerful too. It creates purpose, connection, and it literally releases feel-good chemicals in your brain. It's a win-win.
Okay, and social connections again. We know they help resilience, but they're foundational for happiness overall.
Absolutely fundamental. That sense of support, belonging, encouragement, it's crucial. Research consistently shows people with strong social ties are happier and healthier.
And the opposite, isolation, is really damaging.
Very much so, both mentally and physically. So actively nurturing relationships, family, friends, colleagues, is vital.
Even at work.
Especially at work. Feeling connected to colleagues boosts satisfaction, teamwork, performance. Companies that build community see results.
So we need to be intentional about this. It doesn't just happen.
Requires conscious effort. Setting aside time, making small gestures, checking in.
And reaching out for support when stressed, not trying to tough it out alone.
Crucial. That's what the support system is for.
He also talks about setting goals, right, for happiness.
Yeah, having meaningful, achievable goals gives purpose and direction. But the key is breaking them down.
Smaller steps.
Yeah, makes them less daunting. And celebrating progress along the way keeps motivation high, reinforces the positive behavior.
And finally, building habits. Gratitude, exercise, maybe meditation.
Those small, consistent actions are powerful. They build a foundation for well-being without eating massive willpower all the time. They become automatic.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. What's the scientific bedrock this all rests on? You mentioned positive psychology earlier.
Right. Positive psychology is key. It shifted focus from just fixing what's wrong, mental illness, to understanding what makes life worth living. Human flourishing, happiness.
So Acre's work fits squarely in that tradition.
Exactly. And having that scientific backing gives it real weight. It's not just nice ideas, there's data.
Like the brain plasticity stuff.
Yeah.
Neuroplasticity.
Yeah, that's huge. The idea that our brains can physically change based on our experiences and thoughts.
So happiness isn't fixed. We can actually train our brains to be happier.
That's the implication.
Yeah.
Practices like gratitude, mindfulness, kindness, they literally rewire neural pathways over time.
Making positivity more of a default state.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
And then there's Barbara Fredrickson's broaden and build theory.
Broaden and build.
The idea that positive emotions don't just feel good in the moment. They actually broaden our awareness, make us more open, creative, better learners. And that helps us build resources, mental, social, physical, that help us cope better down the line.
So positive feelings actually make us more resourceful for the future.
That's the theory.
Yeah.
And we already touched on the health links, lower blood pressure, better immunity, longevity, often linked to reduced stress effects from being happier.
The mind-body connection is so strong. He also mentions the placebo effect.
Yeah, in the sense that believing you can become happier and more successful can itself contribute to making it happen. Belief combined with positive habits is powerful.
And workplaces are catching on to this science.
Increasingly, yes. They see the link between positive emotions and productivity, creativity, problem solving. Gallup's work on employee engagement shows this clearly.
Happier workplaces just function better, lower turnover too.
Right. It's a competitive advantage. And schools are using it too.
Positive psychology in education.
Yeah, teaching resilience, gratitude, positive thinking. It improves academic results, behavior, engagement, equipping kids with life skills.
So the science really emphasizes that happiness is an active process.
Absolutely, not passive.
All right.
Something we cultivate through intentional practice. It puts the control back in our hands.
Which is really empowering, isn't it? It's not all down to luck or circumstance.
Exactly. We have agency over our own well-being.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. If we boil down the happiness advantage, the absolute core message is
Happiness isn't the finish line reward for success. It's the fuel. It's what gets you there.
and the 7 principles Acre outlines, they're basically a practical toolkit for cultivating that fuel.
Yeah, actionable strategies. Not huge leaps, but consistent practices.
And the underlying message is one of hope, really. Happiness is achievable, something we can create intentionally.
Which feels incredibly relevant right now, doesn't it? In such a high-stress world, it offers a path to success that's sustainable and fulfilling.
And it's practical, grounded in exercises we can actually do.
Definitely, and built on that foundation of social connection, which is just so critical for thriving.
Ultimately, the idea is that boosting your happiness lifts everything else. It empowers you no matter what's going on around you.
So maybe this question for listeners to ponder is, what's one small thing, one principle from this deep dive that you could start experimenting with today?
Yeah, maybe just start a simple gratitude practice or consciously reframe one small challenge. See what happens.
Because lasting change comes from those small, consistent steps. As Iker shows, happiness is a choice, and it's a skill.
A skill definitely worth developing. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Yeah, keep thinking about it. What resonated? What could you apply? The exploration doesn't have to end here.